here in our first game. And like you said, Holy Roman Empire, Beastyqt, he's going to be playing in the teal, and orange is Szalami on the Delhi Sultanate.
Look at this. I said this a little bit before, but I want you to take note, and I'm zooming in here on the town center, this nice Age 4 monument that he has right in the town center, that big IV that he's got there. That's a fantastic monument. You know, you could customize that in your town center. It's fantastic.
How do you unlock that? That's cool. I don't think I have that one unlocked.
I actually have no idea. I have to look at the game, and I'd have to figure it out. Because there's some.
If anybody in chat knows, you can let us know how you unlock that Age 4 monument there.
Because there's some super cool ones. Like there's like the Conqueror ones, of course, that you get, or like the Diamond ones if you're playing multiplayer. But
well, have you seen the one that's in BC's base right now?
Oh yeah,
I also like that one.
So this is the Season 1 Conqueror monument.
I love how it's all golden and red. I mean, obviously it would fit a little bit better with the Chinese town center, but that's okay. We'll forgive him right now just for this one.
Oh yeah, for the color. Yeah, for sure. Now with these two civilizations here, HRE and Delhi Sultan, what do you know about the matchup between both as their Dark Age kind of gets ramped up?
Well, Dark Age, we probably won't see too much aggression from either one, right? Both of these guys want to, as we know from most Holy Roman Empire Giga Chads, they want to head up to the Castle Age as fast as they can. That's where their big power spike comes online. And Delhi Sultanate, oddly enough, are kind of the same way. They're happy to fight out in Feudal, of course, because they'll get Sanctity, and they can get efficient production and really field a quite a large Feudal army. So there will be a little bit of that push and pull there, as I think Salami's going to want to put on the pressure once we get to Feudal, and Beasty's going to try and head up to Castle as fast as he can, I think, because that's just the way the Holy Roman Empire likes to play. So we'll have to see how that matchup ends up playing out, because there's the whole battle over map position and sacred sites and all of those things you have to take into account when you are facing up against the Delhi that kind of disincentivizes you from just hiding in your base and going fast castle.
And you got to think about what is unlocked for Beastyqt and the HRE when you get into Castle Age, right? If he ends up doing it quickly, as far as good Castle Age times for HRE, I mean, you could see some good ones at like the 8-minute mark, maybe even a little bit before, assuming he doesn't make feudal military production, which he might end up doing to combat some of those sacred sites. But those men-at-arms are super tough for the Delhi Sultanate to deal with, just because they don't have a good anti-armor unit in Feudal Age. So it lets HRE get a little bit of map control, and this is one of the most one-sided matchups, I would say, in civilizations.
We get to see this Aachen Chapel getting placed by Beasty. I like this spot, getting to take advantage of it as a resource drop-off point. You could use that as a lumber camp and a mill. Very nice placement there. And on the other side, going to be going up with the Dome of the Faith for Szalami, generally what we tend to see. But I do want to pitch a hypothetical to you really quickly here. If you're the Delhi player, when you go up to Age 3, assuming we get there, we see a lot of Compound of the Defender, right? That's kind of the go-to monument. But is there a situation here where it makes sense to go House of Learning so that you can get owned blades, so that your men-at-arms can stand a little bit more up to those HRE men-at-arms? Or do you just try and fight it out with something else and not even bother?
And on paper, that makes a lot of sense. However, with House of Learning, just because of how long it takes all of those research opportunities to actually be used, a lot of the times for Delhi, when they go into Castle Age, they'll just make crossbowmen instead.
I can totally see that. Crossbowmen, an excellent counter to those slow men-at-arms. Men-at-arms, incredibly powerful, but their big weakness is their movement speed, so you can often, just kind of kite them with ranged units, and as long as you have something like crossbows that do have armor-piercing damage, you're going to be in pretty great shape. So I think that does make a lot of sense. I was just really hoping to see a House of Learning today, man. We don't get to see enough of it, in my opinion.
No, we don't. The education is lacking, we should say, just because of no House of Learning. But now Beastyqt doing what an HRE usually does in this matchup, making some barracks over here next to his town center, going to get some feudal age men-at-arms, because again, those armored units, very difficult for the Delhi to deal with. And he does have a good food economy with the Aachen Chapel around these sheep and around these berries as well, to get some constant men-at-arms production and you could end up just flooding the Deli in feudal age.
Yeah, you really can, and I think that looks to be Beastyqt's like main goal here. He recognizes that if you're the Deli and you're stuck in feudal alongside the Holy Roman Empire, what do you field that can really deal with men-at-arms? And the answer is not much. So if Beastyqt holds himself and the Deli player together in feudal for as long as he can, that should continue to play out in his favor, which is why you see him going quadruple barracks here. Because he's looking to flood these men-at-arms into the orange base until the Deli's just kind of out of options.
Yeah, you're exactly right. I mean, the best thing that a Deli could really do, that Szalami is doing, is using a stable, getting out horsemen. But looking at these stats, the difference is the ranged armor coming out. Men-at-arms having 3 ranged armor to the melee armor, to the horseman's 0. So them as a front line against those early men-at-arms, not a good time for the horsemen.
No, not at all. And it's interesting because with this double barrack setup, you can kind of counter horsemen with the spearmen. We already see a hardened spearman coming out and hovering over the wood line, making sure that these Holy Roman Empire villagers are safe. But you've got a counter to the horsemen as well as kind of a softer counter in those men-at-arms. So while horsemen are the best solution to deal with the men-at-arms, it also feels kind of counterintuitive to produce them because it's so easy to just also throw in some spearmen out of that same structure you're already building the men-at-arms out of. So the Deli is really in a tough spot here.
Yeah, they definitely are. And what's so nice for the HRE is these peasants starting to get a little pissed, pulling their shivs out against that horseman over there in the gold mine. With the transitioning from the spearmen to men-at-arms, obviously they come out of the same production building. You don't even need the wood to get the different production, whatever. It's just an easy transition. It's going to make Szalami go completely different into something like archers to combat the spearmen. But then you come into a micro issue. Maybe you target a man-at-arms. Instead of spearmen, those archers aren't going to do anything against those men-at-arms. Then all of a sudden you lose a battle because you clicked the wrong unit.
I like this cute little micro Szalami's doing here, trying to push and pull these spearmen up at the north gold, trying to get them out of position just so we can get a couple more stabs onto these villagers. But the positioning from the spearmen just too good for Beastyqt, and Szalami will be forced to run home with his tail between his legs just a little bit. Very well done to keep these villagers out here alive. It is worth mentioning that in the most recent season, golds have been pushed away from the town center so that it promotes more raiding, more feudal aggression, because you will have to put your villagers kind of in harm's way if you want to be gathering gold.
And we see a lot of people with taking advantage of that by adding in Dark Age aggression, especially by the Deli Sultanate. We just saw an English player do that with Vanguard Men-at-Arms against Beastyqt, and he was able to take care of that rather easily. But it creates the opportunity to do something like that.
And look at Beasty throwing down all of these farms already. Now, this will slow down your game plan just a little bit. That farm transition, generally something you want to try and push to as late in the game as you can. But there's also something to be said for transitioning a lot of your villagers to a food source right out of the gate that you never have to micro again, and that is completely safe from raids. And if you're the HRE, you get bonus food from as long as they drop it off at within the range of that Achen Chapel.
Yeah, that Achen Chapel being a good drop-off point, but we have our first, I would say, major skirmish. Deli Sultanate with their horsemen and archers coming up with a couple of scholars trying to take down some of these men-at-arms. A couple of spearmen go down in the process. And with military count 21-14, one of the advantages that the Deli Sultanate have with efficient production is they can just make units quicker than you.
I think we see that exactly happening here. While the superior quality of the units might be on the teal side of the Holy Roman Empire, the Deli Sultanate are just able to field more, and they're able to walk away with that first sacred site all on their own. No walls coming up as of yet to try and keep that walled in, and under orange control, they're going to rotate over to the middle sacred site and look to take it away as fast as they can. Already starting to get that gold trickle coming in.
And that little bit, just one sacred site's going to help, as we see early men-at-arms trying to take down some of these horsemen. Over here we have a skirmish in the middle of where the second sacred site is, but because the scholars are able to heal the men-at-arms, they do a really good job at tanking. They don't do that great in terms of DPS, so a lot of the time scholars are going to be able to out-heal you, which is what Szalami's doing with the amount of scholars he has up here.
And that's really the big strength of the Deli is that healing. They get scholars out on the field so early, and they can get herbal medicine for free. It actually hasn't come in yet because we're not in the Castle Age, but when it does, you'll get so much healing coming out here that it doesn't really matter if your troops aren't quite as high quality as your opponents, because you can field more of them with efficient production, and you can keep them alive for longer thanks to all of that healing. And now we see these walls coming down, and the middle Sacred Site going to get taken. Now that right side Sacred Site did get neutralized because we had nobody there to hold onto it and no walls were thrown down, but that is something they can look to rotate over and take a little bit later on. And you can see that the walling plan has definitely begun already. Walls aplenty around this middle Sacred Site, although Beastyqt is here. I don't know if he wants to let this get walled up all by itself for free.
Yeah, he really does not want to, because getting these walls might trap in these men-at-arms actually too, because you have the Scholars and you have the Horsemen. The Scholars are going to be able to out-heal you. He needs to send all of his men-at-arms, all 20 that he has. He's got to get in there to try to negate some of these Scholars' activity, and it looks like for how many that he has now, he has the ability to do that. Those Horsemen, Archers, Scholars, all kind of hovering near the wall, they have to retreat.
It looks like there's a wall piece still missing, so this wall isn't complete. Teal can get in and out as they please, and that means I don't think this Sacred Site is going to be able to be successfully capped. It looks like there's enough here for Beastyqt to push everything away. Where the military count was once heavily in favor of the Delhi, now that quadruple barracks production has definitely started to kick in, and the men-at-arms have arrived here in force.
in force, definitely. That's almost an underestimation because of how much carving they are doing. This backline, these Archers getting chewed up, Horsemen finally getting chewed up, and it's nice that there are a lot of Scholars back here doing the healing, but they can't do damage themselves, so if the only thing that are left are Scholars, not helpful.
No, at this point we almost have more Scholars left on the field than we do actual military damaging units, so I think these orange units need to skedaddle, otherwise Szalami is going to be very out of military units before he knows what's good for him here.
And he actually does. There's a lot of Scholars with a group of, I'd say, about 7 Archers that men-at-arms are chasing, but also on the flip side, on the south, going in to the north side of Szalami's base, we have a group of about 8 men-at-arms. They're looking to get some Vil kills here.
Yeah, and they're also picking off these Archer reinforcements that are coming in through, making sure that these forward troops from Szalami will not get any sort of help along the way. They're going to have to run or they will die. So kind of threefold aggression here, raiding Vils on the south left side, cutting off reinforcements in the south middle, and cleaning up the remaining troops on the east side over here.
And it just makes you appreciate the micro, right? Beasty, I mean, some of these men-at-arms are going to end up going down by how many Archers there are, but the fact that he took men-at-arms and chased all of these Scholars all around, that battle that Szalami actually ended up winning on the east side of his base didn't have any Scholar intervention at all.
Yeah, and now the remaining Scholars that he has alive are completely caught out. If you see right above the base here, these men-at-arms are going to tear them to shreds. Going to be losing one for sure, maybe a second along the way. They might be able to get back underneath the town center before they lose their lives, but yeah, they do make it out for the time being. That healing, so fast we see them stop, and just instantly all the little green crosses show up.
Yeah, you wonder what they're saying that provides so much life to people.
Absolutely, and because that healing does stack, you can see that even though a singular Horseman is being DPS down by all of these men-at-arms, the Scholars are actually able to out-heal it, and once again, this is before herbal medicine has come through. So that's only going to get worse if we make it up to the Castle Age. Of course, there's all sorts of, HRE text that will make things more painful and difficult if we make it up to the Castle Age as well. So that's a whole other kettle of fish we have to open. And speaking of going up to the Castle Age, Szalami, oh, never mind. Literally, as I said that, he had about 600 food. Looked like he might be on his way sort of to heading up, but then he instantly spent about 300 of it. So just ignore me. I'm not sorry. Yeah.
I think the issue is not having a Sacred Site. He doesn't have that passive gold income, so he can't get the 600 gold to go up to Castle unless he spends villagers on it. At the same time, he's sending his entire army up north to Beasty's base, trying to get a counter raid, maybe get a couple villagers off in the process. It looks like there's about 20 or so men-at-arms in this area. It's going to be rather difficult. And then back home in Szalami's base, on the south side, he's getting raids with about a little vanguard army of about 10 men-at-arms.
Yeah, going in, disrupting that wood line. And we can see that Szalami is absolutely starving for wood right now because he has been pushed off this wood line 3 times in the past minute. He cannot take wood safely. And so, Beastie has identified a weakness in the base and is just trying to push it right now. But that does mean he will be losing this fight up in the north on his own base. Missing those 10 men-at-arms means that this army for Szalami is much bigger up at Beastie's base. Will be picking off villagers and probably able to take down this barracks at the very least. Oh, they found the villagers on the food over by this mill. Gonna have to run now.
And they do end up running, and now there's just a battle in the HRE farmlands, town center being able to help out a little bit. And that means Beastie ends up achieving a little bit of a ceasefire down on the south side, and now Szalami might be thinking about sacred sites after that fight. He might be thinking he got a little bit of map control, but he still has all of these men-at-arms to deal with. It feels like as soon as he tries to get a sacred site, it's just going to end up getting neutralized.
Here's the big difference, though. Here's the micro difference between these two guys, right? Beastyqt has 17 villagers killed. Szalami has what? Despite the fact that he was all up in the HRE farmland and did have his troops underneath that Aachen chapel, he still has lost so many more villagers than his opponent, and is continuing to lose more, because every single time Beastyqt gets drawn into the town center with these men-at-arms, watch this. He's going to shift-click these blue men-at-arms away, and then pull them right back in, so that the second that these orange villagers start to tap the woods again, the men-at-arms are right back there, underneath the wood line, tearing the villagers up.
And they're just continuing.
Look at it! Look at it! There they go, they're going back in!
Making that economy count 49 to 31 in favor of Beastie. And you got to remember, these HRE villagers work 40% faster than the normal villager. But there's some caught out in the open on the east side. It looks like he tried to get a boar, got a little greedy with it. All these villagers are going to end up going dead. That's going to even the count a little bit.
It is indeed, and we can see, wow, explosions of color and noise going all across the map. Very great villager pickup here on the east side for Szalami, going to pick up about 10 villagers or so that were off taking food on the right side. These horsemen going to get an excellent raid, going to bring that eco count much closer to even territory for our Delhi Sultanate player here.
Yeah, now eco count 41 to 32. Those horsemen are going to come in to reinforce this fight. We have got almost a dozen scholars in this fight against 50 men-at-arms coming in from Beastyqt. We got some in the backline going up against the archers. I don't think there's enough scholars to be able to heal all of these, so we're going to see a lot of horsemen going down in this fight, a lot of archers going down, and I think we're going to end up only having scholars left. They're not getting microed very well.
No, they're kind of standing on the front line for the time being. They are doing a decent amount of healing, though. You can see the current troops that they are healing are just unkillable, but once these men-at-arms wrap around like they are now and are actually attacking the scholars, that healing will start to slow down just a little bit, and you can see how long this fight is, because the Delhi Sultanate player is doing no damage, and the Beastyqt is doing damage, but then is immediately being healed up again, so everything just lives for so long in this fight.
Yeah, it's almost like it's a rock and a hard place. You don't know which one's actually going to budge. But Beastyqt does end up getting the budging. Oh my god, just like you said before, Szalami tried to get to that south wood line again, and all of his villagers would have died if he didn't pull him back. Put him back to the town center. But are these early men-at-arms with 3+1 ranged armor?
Here we go, he did it again. He pulls them backwards, he shift clicks back for 1 second, and then sends them back in so they can just disrupt the villagers a little bit more.
And just that little bit of idle time, I mean, he's just creating all of this idle time. There are 15, he only has 21 villagers left, 15 of them are in the town center. The other 5 are trying to run into the town center. There's no room for you guys, all the beds are full.
Yeah, and the +1 ranged armor is in as well, so these men-at-arms taking almost no damage whatsoever from this town center, despite the fact that it fires off so many arrows with 15 villagers inside. I mean, they just don't die. And GG gets called. That is game number 1 going over to Beastyqt with the HRE men-at-arms spam in feudal, going to take this one away on Dry Arabia from Szalami.
Yeah, pretty good from HRE. I mean, you have the understanding that armored units are not good, or are too good against Delhi, excuse me. And he didn't even bother. He made a couple spearmen, I think, in the middle, but then he was like, forget this. They don't have armor. And then he just made men-at-arms instead. But you were right. A lot of those battles, just because of the scholars and the men-at-arms being more of a tanky unit, that fight felt like it was like 5 minutes where people were just slashing. It was almost like a pillow fight.
That's exactly the way to describe it. It was like a pillow fight. They're just slapping each other for minutes on end while nothing dies. Oh,
Oh man, but
and Szalami on the Malians.
now I know the Malians are relatively new, and we talked about it a little bit actually in the interim in our while we were waiting for these finals to coalesce. But I want to talk about this map a little bit because for you personally, were you an AoE2 player back in the day?
I was, yeah, and I played a lot of it. I made the switch when Age of Empires 4 came out because I really like a lot of the design decisions it made. I think it makes for a better game overall. But I did play the game Age of Empires 2 all the way up until pretty much Age of Empires 4's release.
Oh, okay. All right. So you're pretty familiar with this map on an AoE2 setting. So what did you think about it when it was in AoE2? What were your thoughts?
Well, so it was a little bit different in AoE 2. There were fishing ponds on the upper, kind of like cliff sides on either side here. I guess they're like hillsides. And the name was called something different. I can't remember what it was called. It was a great map, and I think it is in Age of Empires 4 as well because it promotes really aggressive play. You're forced by the design of the map to spread your base and your economy out quite a bit, which leaves a lot of space for attacking and raiding, disincentivizing, turtling and a lot of, kind of boring for the spectator to watch kind of play. I know that in Age of Empires 2, the Indians were busted on this map because there were those fish on the sides, and the Indians got bigger shorefish. They got like a huge shorefish gathering bonus. So they were like the go-to pick for this map in Age of Empires 2. In 4, I don't know. I don't know how I was going to have to see. I'm very excited, honestly, to see Szalami be playing the Malians. I think we talked about this off screen, but I think that there is a very real niche for the Malians to occupy, and it has taken the community a little while to kind of figure out what that is. They were, everyone was very quick to discover how the Ottomans were good and kind of fold them into the meta. Malians have been a little bit more tricky to figure out, but I think once the community does at large, we're going to see them, get played quite a lot more because I think they do have a real special space where they could be good.
And I think on paper, this is a solid Malian map. Just because they want to, your opponent has to branch out to all of these resources, like you said before. As we look at the outskirts above the hill in Gorge, we have some nice deer piles, some boar that neither player can get, of course. Then we have some wood piles and some stone. So the Malians, they want to do that kind of skirmisher kind of thing. They want to make Musafati warriors, get them in stealth, kind of run them around, and take down some of these villagers that decide to venture out like the Delhi does for a lot of these outside berry patches. So I think we're going to see a lot of Vil kills if I were to make a prediction.
I have this theory, right, which is completely untested by anything, so take this with the massive grain of salt.
Okay.
But I have this theory that if you get poison arrows with your archers as the Malians, there's some number, right? Some breakpoint where they will one-shot a villager and then the poison will kill the villager off, right? Like they'll do enough damage that the poison then finishes the villager off. And I'm just waiting for somebody to figure out what that breakpoint is and to just run in with, let's just pull out a number out of our butts, right? Let's just say 8 archers. Mm-hmm. Shoot a villager, and then run away and just instantly get so many kills because the poison just ticks down and takes them out one at a time,
And that has that actually has incredible value now, and it's funny that you said 8 because that's how much it used to be in the PUP before Season 3 came out. The poison kept stacking to an unlimited number. Now it only stacks to 8. So if you were going to do this most effectively, you would actually do 8 archers.
I don't know. Maybe that's overkill. Maybe 8 is too many, and you're overkilling the villagers at that point. I made up the number off the top of my head, but the idea is there. I think if you can, get this poison damage stacked up on somebody and then run away again, I think there's really cool potential there for you just continue to pick off villagers without them, having a lot of counterplay to you.
And as we see coming up into Feudal Age, we'll see if we do see a little bit of that Archer Vil sniping if Malians go up to Castle Age. But Dome of the Faith coming out for Beasty at about the 427 mark. Mansa Quarry for the Malians. Shout out Mansa Musa yet again. Going to be going up to the Feudal Age. Going to be able to get a second pit mine. Has his first one for that stable gold income. Now, were you watching previously with Szalami playing the Malians on the 2 other occasions he has in this tournament?
I did not. I missed those games, unfortunately.
Okay, so when Szalami went up to Castle Age, he made the Farimba Garrison, the Castle Age landmark that makes all of your units out of the archery range and stable. You can produce them out of the garrison at 5 at a time. They only cost gold and at a 20% discount. And he was just spamming Musafati warriors and essentially zerged his opponents to death.
I have heard that this is a relatively useful strategy as the Malians. It's not the first time I've heard of people using the Farimba Garrison as a Zerg Rush style building, where you just continue to send units faster than your opponent can produce them. So I actually really like it, and I'm curious to see if we see something similar in this game. Obviously, Szalami going to need to head up to the Castle Age before that's going to be possible, but you never know what can happen. The Delhi Sultanate generally does want to put on pressure in the Feudal Age, but is happy to go up to Castle Age as well because they do get quite a nice power spike for making it up there.
And they do, and how they get their power spike in Castle is usually by the way of armored units, because they don't take time to upgrade. So they'll make men-at-arms and they'll make knights and stuff, things that Musafati warriors are normally pretty good against. So there might be a nice clash if we get to that, but we're skipping ahead of ourselves. In the Feudal Age, looks like Malian's going for a comp of sofas and javelin throwers. Beasty staying predominantly to horsemen as of right now.
And these sofas will trade out well against the... well, this is actually a warrior scout that we see some here, so the sofas are not here yet. But if we do see them come out, then they will trade well against these horsemen. They are just a little bit more powerful. And this is kind of the what we see every time somebody plays Malians, right? They build their pit mine, they build these little fragile houses around the pit mine, and somebody shows up and immediately wrecks them because they're so easy to kill. Luckily, they're cheap to replace.
Yeah, only having 400 health means I think it was maybe 3 or 4 horsemen took down that house relatively no problem. And now, Beastyqt, just because he saw the warrior scout, there is a sofa trying to get some veal kills on the south side, transitioning into spearmen as well, which is going to help him out. Now this becomes a Feudal Age map control situation, as Sanctity just got picked up by Beasty at the 717 mark.
And because you've seen a sofa as Beasty, you can't just send your scholars out completely unprotected. As I say that, look at there they go. Scholars completely unprotected, going to each sacred site. Beasty knows more than I do. Okay, don't listen to me. Yeah, a couple of horsemen on the north side going to be cleaned up, and I think maybe Beasty thinks that because he's keeping the army of Szalami busy in his own base, these scholars should be safe enough to take the sacred sites on their own. We'll see if his thought process is correct here. There are a decent number of warrior scouts out and about, and one of them going to run across the middle sacred site right now. And yeah. Oh, but there are a couple of yellow horsemen here in the area going to try and make this a little bit difficult. That warrior scout is very hurt, so he will actually be able to survive with this scholar, and the first sacred site will be good to go.
Yeah, Szalami focusing a lot on that middle sacred site, obviously, with the army that he has. But this southern sacred site getting walled up, Sofa coming out, but he's got a couple spearmen to protect him, and then that north sacred site not getting taken as well. So it looks like maybe one will come out from Beasty right now, but Feudal Age is quite young still.
And having these spearmen here is big deal because as the Delhi, you can build those walls with them, and you also protect against those sofas. So it's really nice to be able to provide just a little bit of backup for all of your groups. We got a skirmish coming out in the middle of the gorge here. Just spearmen, or excuse me, they're Donzos, going against the spearmen we have from the Delhi Sultanate, and the spearmen with superior numbers are going to win this one out.
Yeah, 1v1, Donzo obviously better than Spearman just because of a little bit of increased health, and they do get some melee armor, but just because of the sheer number of the Delhi Spearmen. And it looks like the middle site might be right for the taking if he chooses to. That one in the south actually got defended pretty well. A couple sofas and a warrior scout came out, and there is a dead scholarly corpse in the woods on the southern sacred site. Those walls aren't going to go up anytime soon.
Yeah, I honestly really like the way that Szalami is playing this. When we saw all three of those scholars head out at once, I was a little unsure, but he's done a very good job responding to all of this pressure, and so far no sacred site has been taken. So he has lost a decent amount of troops, but he hasn't done too badly for himself, and keeping these sacred sites out of Delhi's hands is really a big priority here in this situation.
But you know, I'm not sure how long he's going to be able to do that. Just because of, if we go back and take a look at his base, he's producing archers out of a Fission Production archery range, has a barracks, has a stable movement as well, military count 27 to 9 because Szalami had his Mansa Quarry on stone to get that second town center, puts it up near a deer patch, kind of betwixt both sacred sites. So it might add a little bit of defense, but it'll help him in the economy outlook as well.
And then I guess it just becomes a question if you're Szalami of, is that town center worth giving up these sacred sites to you? And, I think there's an argument to be made that the town center will continue to work for you for the rest of the game, unless it's destroyed, obviously. But, you can always come back and recap these sacred sites a little bit later once that TC advantage has really kicked in for you. So I think I like this position okay for Szalami. I don't think this was a terrible choice by any means.
No, I don't think it's bad, but he did stop most military production while he's doing this. I mean, his military count has stayed at 9 pretty much as that second town center has gone up, and it's going to be probably in about 25 to 30 seconds that the sacred site timer is going to start ticking down all of that extra gold. By the time that TC pays off, Beasty's going to be in Castle Age.
It's very true. So it is a dangerous game you got to play here. It's kind of walking a tightrope, but I think that's kind of the whole game of Age of Empires in a nutshell, is walking a tightrope between greed and getting yourself killed. Because you're trying to be as greedy as you can without dying, right? That's what the game is, trying to get that eco up and running. And I think that's one of the things that makes Age of Empires so unique as an RTS, is that that's the way you want to play it, really.
And that's I love how you said that, because I think that's a microcosm of how Delhi plays, period. I think some of the best Delhi players make just enough units to get map control so they can use their sacred sites to get to castle as quickly as possible. So you're right. The best Delhi players are the ones that can tightrope the best. And as we're seeing Beasty, he must think he's at some kind of military advantage because he's got all 3 sacred sites, only really queuing up scholars right now. I don't see any military in his queue. So now that he's got his sacred sites, I think it's just for him a waiting game until he gets up to castle.
Yeah, and you can see, I mean, that's a perfect move for Beasty to make, because he realizes that if his opponent had anything to stop him with, he would have been near these sacred sites protecting them. The fact that there was nothing is essentially a free pass that says, hey, come inside my base, wreck my pit mines. I'm not going to stop you.
And that's exactly what he's doing. All of these houses going down. And you might think, I mean, usually I remember when I played Malians like once or twice, I saw those houses going down and I'm like, yeah, I don't care. That's just passive gold, whatever. And then 20 seconds later, I find myself housed and I can't do anything about it. So you got to remember these houses have dual purpose. And Szalami's going to have to spend the wood to rehouse, and he is in the north side of his base that aren't giving passive gold income.
Yeah, and that never feels good, right? Spending your hard-earned wood on houses that aren't boosting your pit mines as the Malians just feels gross inside. So, but he is going to make a move that is going to make him feel a little bit better. With his main force, he's pushed out into the middle of the map, pushed a lot of Delhi villagers off of this middle this middle mill, which is taking deer, and he's going to decap this mid-sacred site and burn these walls down. So, a small win for him. He has to lose his pit mine in the north to do it, but the sacred victory counter will stop. That matters. And the passive gold for his opponent will slow down. That matters for him as well.
Yeah, and I think, honestly, I think Beasty's okay with this happening. This Malian force, which is the majority of them, I'd say about 20-some of the 33 that's there, just worried about taking this gate down. And you know what that means? His villagers are not affected at all. They're able to gather the economy that he needs. He's still getting the stone, does have a market in the back of his base as well, so he'll be able to, once he does get a lot of that passive gold, will be able to buy his way up to Castle Age. And looks like he is actually going to take this fight in the middle. He might be able to save the sacred site.
I'm surprised he's committing so hard to do so. I kind of felt like these sacred sites were just a means to an end, just a way for him to get free gold to get up to Castle Age. But yeah, there we go. He killed, once he sees a larger force there. Oh, but now he likes his chances. He sees how big the force is for the Malians, and he goes, I can beat that. That's not that many troops. I'll win that. So he goes back in. And I honestly like his chances. The front line has completely faded away here for the Malians, leaving just these archers left. There aren't that many horsemen to capitalize on them, though, so this kiting is going to be pretty useful here, even picking off some of these scholars as they get too far forward.
Yep, as soon as you said that, one scholar ends up going down. Got a little bit too ballsy going up forward, but yeah, all the horsemen go down. But now it's Castle Age Compound. The defender did go up. Szalami has the danger signals popping up in his brain, so he is moving from north to south. He's trying to get some kind of military advantage before the Delhi are able to make their Castle Age units and get their upgrades.
I feel like this is definitely a trap. Going this far forward, trying to get kills. Yeah, this concave is all set up. These archers are going absolutely nowhere. Coming past this line of walls here was maybe just a little bit too far forward for Szalami. Lost all of his horsemen, going to lose a big chunk of these archers as well, and still hasn't managed to take any of these sacred sites away. I would have liked to see him rotate his troops around to this north side sacred site. It's almost underneath his second town center anyway. I feel like that would have been a much easier one to decap at this point. But, choice is made. It's too late now.
Mm-hmm. Yep, those archers backed up all the way to the secondary town center. Like you said, trying to kite some of those units. But those archers not going to be as effective as we see some of the first Castle Age units. Some knights hitting the battleground right now. And Szalami only has basically this archer mass and a couple sofas. He's got nothing for knights.
Yeah, and these spearmen going to get up in their face, and spearmen do decently well against archers. I know archers are supposed to be the counter to spearmen, but once spearmen are in an archer's face, it's pretty even as far as it's just a numbers game at that point. And so a lot of these archers go down. You can see so many red corpses right near that red wall or that yellow wall there, which means we've got maybe looks like 14 archers remaining on the field for Szalami, which means Beastyqt has more than double the military population at this point. He is definitely in the driver's seat right now.
And because of all that passive gold, he's able to put his villagers somewhere else. And while that battle was going on, he accumulated about 800 stone. Sending his villagers forward, probably some forward keep action is going to happen, but could also use his foot soldiers to make stone walls now that he has compounded defender as well. So this is going to be a rather formidable fortress if Beastyqt decides to do that, especially for a feudal age Malians that probably doesn't have much in the way of combating stone walls.
I think Szalami kind of sees that eventuality coming, and he wants to decap this sacred site before that happens, because I think he knows that if a keep comes up right here on this hill, that he will never, ever get this sacred site decapped, and that is danger zone territory. So he's going to mobilize most of his force to try and decap this sacred site, but then he notices his villagers are getting poked and raided. He's got to respond to that, so it's going to pull him off of this sacred site for now, and all the while, that sacred victory approaching counter continues to tick down.
Yeah, this is all biding time stuff, right? And all it took is one lancer and one horseman. It just pulled Szalami's, basically the majority of his army, all the way to the north corner of the map. So it's not even touching any of these sacred sites or anything. And while he's distracted with that on the north side, there's a keep right for the face of the Malians coming right in front of their production where all their archery ranges are. If this goes up, this is trouble.
Oh yeah, this is a get out of my game keep. You could place this keep on one of the sacred sites. That keep says, hey, I'm in it for the long term. I'm going to try and hold these sacred sites and win that way. I'm going to force you to respond to that victory condition. This keep says, hey, I can beat you in a straight up fight. So you either fight me or you'll never make archers again, because they'll be instantly mowed down.
And we see some of those archers going down right when that keep comes up. Also does a good job of kind of attacking from two different angles, because he's got a battering ram on the second town center. And it looks like Szalami is sending everything in the kitchen sink. This is the ever popular all-in. All villagers.
He's going for the landmark snipe.
Oh, yeah. He's got to hit 3 of them, though. I don't think he's going to...
There's another keep coming down. Beastyqt's seen this way too many times. He knows it's coming. He even saw the villagers get pulled. They walked across his field of view. So he immediately throws up a keep with every single villager that's standing in his home base right now. And... oh no, they're just some idols. Come on, they could be building too. Like, there we go. There he gets them. He gets them. Now they're building their keep. I don't know. Is this keep going to go up? It definitely would if all the villagers were building at once, but now that the army from the Malians has arrived, can they kill these villagers in time before the keep goes up? This is going to be close. He'll get it up. Okay. Yep, and as soon as the keep is up, that's it. There's no world in which the Malians can burn down all these landmarks with the keep sitting there. GG gets called.
Looking back at looking back at this game, it seems like Szalami did a really good job of contesting the sacred sites within the first, I want to say, 8 or 9 minutes. And it just feels like that second town center just made him kind of turn into himself. And then those sacred sites ended up getting captured. And it seems like as soon as one goes down, as soon as the Delhi are able to get one, it's almost like a dam breaking loose.
Well, it was a momentum killer, really. I feel like more than anything. Like, it wasn't so much that he built the second TC and chose to focus more on eco. It was that he traded his military production for a solid 2 minutes and 30 seconds for that town center. And there was an extended period of time where Szalami just sat on 9 military population. And that's just an invitation for Delhi to take complete map control. And that's never where you want to be against the Delhi.
And exactly what I'm looking at the graph right now for military count, exactly what you just described, I'm circling, where that red line in terms of graph doesn't really move that much up until that 9.5 to, I want to say, maybe 11:30 mark. And you can see Beastyqt's military count just skyrocket, all of those buildings being able to be produced, churning out efficiently production, and making all of those units at almost double the speed. And it just seems like Szalami couldn't get back from there.
You get all the bonuses at once. And so there's just that window where it just feels really bad to go up to Imp as Delhi.
When you're just like, I don't have that kind of time. I don't have 10 minutes. I'm trying to make something happen now. But Delhi is now the previous game. This game with Beastyqt as spawning in the color yellow in the southeast, playing as the Ottomans. Szalami is also the Ottomans. We have a Turkish mirror, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh, I like that you called it a Turkish mirror, not an Ottoman mirror. That's a man who knows his geography right there.
Hey, I know a little history. I played the campaigns,
Oh, dude, I want an Ottoman campaign so bad. Devs, if any devs are watching, please, I will pay you. I will pay additional money for a DLC. I don't even care if we get an Ottoman campaign, please.
I think if they incorporated the Byzantines into season 4 or something like that, having a campaign where it's you're following the Ottomans take down Constantinople in the 1450s, that's a campaign.
Oh yeah, that's such a good. Oh, I can see the level design now. Anyway, we gotta stop fantasizing about that. We gotta talk about this match that's ahead of us. This is an Ottoman mirror. This is Beastyqt versus Szalami. And but so far we're going with the straight standard Ottoman build where both players immediately going on stone so they can get out those military schools. You got to get those free production units going as fast as possible. That's the name of the game when you're the Ottomans.
This is a Civ too that I'm not sure how much that you've seen so far, just with our new season being quite young, but Ottomans is definitely the same kind of context that I think of as a French, where there's such a snowball effect, and then you get to the point where it's just an avalanche that can't be stopped. Do you feel the same way?
No, there's a few civs that are like that, where their goal is essentially to keep pushing until you break, and if you don't break, you win. But as soon as you slip, you're done.
Mm-hmm.
France is like that. The Ottomans are like that. The Mongols can be like that with their tower rush and their double production from the Ovu. There's a handful of civs in the game where they just start pushing as soon as you hit feudal, and they don't stop. And if you can weather the storm, it's basically a free win. But if you can't and you slip at all, they will pounce and you are done.
And now with a mirror, we have two civs that are going up against each other, trying to do almost the same exact thing. So it's kind of like in a rock and a hard place. So we'll see which one actually decides to crumble. Both players choosing different outlets for their first spearman. Beastyqt charging his more north into Szalami's base. Szalami keeping his back home and just kind of trying to play defensively against the spearmen that he knows that are going to come his way.
I like Szalami's choice just a little bit more. I feel like a singular spearman is not going to get much done for you here. You're going to get a single poke on a villager, and then he's going to turn around and run back home again. So I guess you get a little bit of scouting for free. That's all that really gains you. But I feel like if you're in this position, the best time to move out with these spearmen to do a little bit of harass is by the time you've got about 4. That's really when you want to start making something happen. 1 spearman is not a threat to anybody at all. In fact, 3 villagers can turn around and shiv stab 1 spearman to death, and they won't even, none of them will die. They'll be fine.
Oh, absolutely. Even though Dark Age Spearman got a little bit of a buff with the most recent patch, looking at the stats of Spearman: 80 health, 7 attack, villagers 50 health, 6 attack. They're not too far off from Dark Age Spearman, and the difference is you're going to make villagers anyway, so they're actually pretty good combatants in Dark Age. But both players in a mirror doing very mirror-like fashioned things, going with the twin minaret.
I do love this landmark. I love that it has a perfect breakpoint where you can just put, I think it's 6 vills on it, maybe 7, and they will just perfectly continue to rotate their way around the berries, never running out. It's an infinite source of really fast gathering food, and I think it's a really great addition. I love that it's good. I don't want it to be nerfed at all, but I do think that the other landmark is really cool as well, and so I wish we got to see that one just a little bit more. I don't know if it needs a buff or if it's just, it's in a good place as is, but I love the idea of having traders that can still get value when you get attacked.
Yeah, and the trade network, the Sultanati trade network, that's the one you're thinking of. It's really good in team games. I've actually noticed in the team games that I've played, just having those traders, having that market. Trying to get trade, and if it's not working in feudal with some of your other teammates, maybe they didn't make military, you can put your traders back in the trade network. Just seems like a good landmark from that standpoint. But for both of these players, now that they made the twin minaret, they're going to get their berries, both of which also going into stone. Looks like Beastyqt with a lot more villagers on stone, thinking about a second town center along with the extra military schools.
So you notice a very small difference since both players are taking it relatively easy. We can talk about this. There's a relatively small difference between the positioning of the landmarks. Beastyqt subscribes to the Aussie Drongo school of thought, where you stick your twin minaret madrasa right up against the town center so that your villagers drop off there and they are very quick to garrison. Szalami disagrees. He's placed his just a little bit further out, and while they're still in range of the town center, there is a world in which they can be poked and prodded and maybe taken down from all the way out there. So something to keep an eye on as the game goes on, perhaps.
Especially with the berry bush that they have. This real northern berry bush. Even though I think it is in the range of the town center, but they have the danger of doing exactly what you're seeing on the screen. Instead of going around and rotating for those other berry bushes, they go for the ones that aren't on the minaret. Which can provide some problems too. They keep going north. They're not microed well enough. They could end up getting picked off.
Well, we've got blacksmiths coming down. When you've got free units coming out, you've got plenty of extra resources to spend on upgrades. Both players agree, and so both will be doing exactly that. The second military school now coming down for Szalami. Beastyqt yet to drop his second. He has actually gone up to 2 town center, as we hear our Vizier Point arriving there. But he's actually, he's shifted his stone over to town center production. Beastyqt going for a more economic approach.
And I think with, now Beastyqt went with the Vizier Point that gives him the meter, as we see here. Szalami looks like the Vizier Point that he went with is also the better, as he decides to bang his drums near the blue town center. But this problem here, not going second TC by Szalami, we're going to see in about 6 minutes how much of a problem this is in terms of economic count, because if Beastie can get a second TC, not get raided, end up getting the villager payoff, the economic payoff, he's just going to have a better snowball.
Definitely. And there's also this world in which where killing a wolf there in the middle of the raids have begun for sure. There's also a world in which that there is enough pressure put on to break this second TC that Szalami feels okay about it, but that requires him to have scouted it first, and I don't think he's seen it yet. So as far as he's concerned, he still thinks everything is hunky-dory with the force that he has, and it is not.
Yeah, I think with this scout, it might be a little too far away, but however, we do have 5 spearmen, 2 meter. Looks like they were going to go to that southern area where that town center was, but they're deciding to come back to the Sipahi, which is in the middle of the map. They might be able to pick it off. Beasty, even though he has a military disadvantage, not having all of the military schools that Szalami does, still kind of holding his own in terms of map control, which is surprising to me.
He also has a lot of production buildings out right now, more than Beasty does, in fact. So there is more paid production coming out for him as opposed to the free production. But, you know, that's always something to be considerate of as you progress forward. You can't survive alone on free units as the Ottomans. You have to start making some that are paid. And the sooner you do it, the sooner you force your opponent to do it as well.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And I think
it's like an arms race.
And I think because of that, we see all the archery ranges come out from Beastyqt. Then Szalami has a little bit of everything, has a couple archery ranges, has a barracks, has a stable. The one thing Szalami has that Beastyqt does not have is a ram. He does see that second town center. He's trying to take it to Ram Ranch, hopefully blow this thing wide open, and stop that villager count from getting too out of hand.
I don't think Beasty is aware that these units are here. Yeah, that he's not. So he has time. Szalami has time to throw up a second ram. And I like this. I almost never see a single ram push succeed at this level of play. Hardly ever. So I like the idea to be patient and to go for a second ram. Now, it delays your push just a little bit, but it doesn't take that long to construct the second ram, and it makes you so much more potent in this push. It also gives time for a lot of these other Ottoman, well, I guess everyone in this match is Ottoman, these blue units to run across the map here and rejoin up. And now this is a significantly scary force that Szalami's dealing with here. He may be able to take down this TC, and then that was a lot of time and resources spent for not a lot of effort, or not a lot of reward.
Right, and that's the difference, because you're exactly right. Having a second ram, it's just because these town centers don't have priorities with rams anymore, so you're able to really take down those units. We do see Beasty's archers and a couple spearmen come out, maybe take out a Sipahi or two. They're able to take down a couple of these spearmen. I don't think there's enough spearmen here for the Sipahi of Szalami, and it looks like Beasty's archer mass is going to get rather wrapped up, and that town center is as good as down.
Yeah, no, this town center won't live. He's trying to pull vills to repair it at this point, but the archers are just focusing down the vills. And every single villager that BC has in a lead right now, like, he had a lead in vills, right, because of the second town center, the lead is gone. They are all going to die trying to keep this town center alive.
And exactly as your sentence finished, the villager count was exactly the same, but now Szalami actually has a 3 villager lead because of that, and will probably kill another 4 here because they were already garrisoned in the town center. So Szalami taking a commanding economic lead, which is going to snowball into a greater military lead, and Beasty's got to be thinking on his feet here. He's got to start queuing a lot more than just archers if he wants to win this game.
I love that play from Szalami. It just, the decision making, the recognizing that the town center was out and immediately starting a plan, right? Throw down production buildings, get the rams, push it down. If they're out, there's a lot of room there for you to kind of hem and haw and go, well, maybe I should make my own town center and then I can keep up, and I don't know. There's absolutely zero hesitation. Build the rams, push the town center down, easy money. And that decisive play is what ends up working out in his favor there, and now he has the villager lead thanks to that. And I just it's clean, it's crisp. I love it, Szalami.
And honestly I love seeing aggression out of any player, especially Ottomans. With as far as feudal age aggression, they usually, they're thinking about massing their units pretty slowly, and then Castle Age they get into it. But Ottomans with Szalami under the helm has a 3rd ram, building a 4th ram. He is not happy with just that town center. He's looking to take down this whole Beasty base.
Well, I mean, there's only 2 landmarks on the field right now, and we know how much Szalami loves the landmark snipe. It may not necessarily be a snipe if, your entire armies are both clashing there to make it happen, but this is a lot of time that you have to spend towards taking down these rams, right? These are villagers, or these are like troops, units, soldiers that you have to task with attacking these rams. And if they're attacking the rams, they're not attacking the army of Szalami. And a lot of these are archers, actually. These are 29 archers, which are going to do 1 damage apiece to these battering rams.
Yeah, they do 1 damage apiece to the battering rams, and they only do 2 damage apiece to the Sipahi because of the ranged armor. They do have a mass that they're able to take down some of them, and it looks like that archer mass will start getting targeted down after the Sipahi as well, but Beasty pulling villagers, trying to get that ram down, and Salami's just starting to target the villagers instead of the units that are there, because the Sipahi are doing a good job, only 3 or 4 of them as a front line, just biding the time for the archers.
I don't think Szalami has enough troops to make this work. Maybe should have waited for just a little bit more production to come in so that he had enough troops to keep his battering rams, protected. But for the time being, it's actually working out. The battering rams are completely untouched. He's going to lose all of his foot soldiers, but the battering rams are going to crush all of the production from Beastyqt, and there's a window there where Szalami can push with his still very alive production and make something happen here.
Yeah, and he's continuing to queue units as soon as you said that. 6 Sipahi in queue, 5 archers in queue. The only problem is exactly what you said, those foot soldiers. Those rams are finally going down. The villagers are torching them because it's the only thing that can actually do damage against those battering rams because of all the archers that he has.
I'm so entranced watching this military school. It's so close to going down so many times. There we go. With one final smash, the military school finally falls. And I think Szalami comes out ahead there. I don't know. He lost a lot. He did do some damage to the production of Beasty, but he also paid a lot. I mean, that was like 1,500 wood in the rams alone, not to mention all the troops that died. So, I don't know if that was worth it.
The issue is, yeah, he did get a lot of military production, which is going to help slow a counter push, which is what Beasty is trying to do. What I wish Szalami did in the interim while he was doing that was change his macro a little bit, because he's floating a lot of food. If you put some of those villagers onto gold, he could be going up to Castle Age right now, but still has the gold that still has the gold handicap, and he's going to need probably about another minute or so before he gets up there and gets to Castle Age, which is going to give Beasty enough time to stabilize himself.
Speaking of Castle Age, yeah, Beasty's the one who's almost on his way up. He's got the food, only 200 wood or gold off, so it's very close for him to be able to go up. And then Szalami. Oh no, I'm so sorry. I just got them confused. Salami's the one who's almost on his way up to Castle Age. You're correct.
Yeah. But he will be getting up now because he put about 23 villagers onto a gold mine, so that'll probably do it. Is going to go up with the Istanbul Imperial Palace, which I usually see the MIA here, but going for the Imperial Palace instead. And if you are not familiar with it, doubles the Imperial Council experience around the land market, increases the Vizier point limit by 2. So it'll help you. I feel like it'll help you a little bit more in the long game.
It's a pretty long game approach, though. I mean, you don't hit your 5th Vizier point, which is normally the one that you max out with, for quite some time after this. So you won't be getting your 6th and 7th for probably another 20 minutes. So this is banking on the game going quite long in order for him to get, some real value out of this here. And he's going to have to really hope that he's not going to wish he had free siege units between now and then.
Right. And I think now because of how long it takes those siege units to actually get out there and have a good mass and all that kind of stuff, maybe the Imperial Palace is the right move. I don't play Ottomans enough to actually give you the 100% what the correct decision is, but now for Szalami, all of his units are going to go up to Castle Age. Beasty's still not having much in the way of gold here. He only has about 100 gold, trying to get to Castle as soon as possible. I hope he's not too late, because if he is, he's going to get a lot of Castle Age units banging down his door.
Yeah, he's barely up to 1,000 food, got almost no gold, and his gold per minute is shocking. He's transferred a lot of gold villagers over to gold now, but that area of the map was held by Szalami for so long, and Beasty had nowhere to get gold safely and reliably for a decent amount of time, so he's really far behind in terms of that. And now, the army sizes are equal, but the composition is better because these are veteran archers, and these Sipahi should be getting leveled up shortly as well.
Yep, and as soon as you said that, they're going to go up to veteran in just a second, adding 30 health. A little bit more attack and some ranged armor as well. Beasty sees that they are of veteran status and tries to run away. Those archers will be slaughtered quite easily. And he doesn't have much besides a town center to help him.
No, he doesn't have anything other than range damage here. Beastyqt is all in on range damage. So between the natural innate armor that the Sipahi have and the +2 ranged armor coming in very soon, all of these troops here are going to be taking no damage whatsoever. This entire army should be easily cleaned up by Szalami.
Yeah, all the villagers taking up space in the town center. Met are getting targeted, actually, so the sound of the drums will beat no more. And we have MIA coming up for Beastie trying to get into Castle Age, but he has a more immediate threat back home. Tried to get a counter raid, which I saw back here with a couple Sipahi. Didn't really pan out too well. He's got a lot of idle villagers, and he ends up calling the game because of it. Couldn't get up to Castle Age. Szalami with the aggression pays off in a nice win.
Yeah, I mean, I was like, I had half an eye watching this MIA because I was like terrified that Szalami was going to see it and just halt it. You know, you can just raid the villagers and keep him from even making it up to the third age, but it didn't end up mattering because all the military ended up dying for Beastyqt. He had put so much time and resources into making range damage only, and you know, Szalami shows up with a hard counter in Sipahi and anti-range damage, you know, armor research.
Yeah, I mean, that was really the story, and looking at the villager count, we see another story at about the 10-minute mark when that town center went down and all those villagers went down. You could see that with that second town center, if he let that go for another, you know, 3 or 4 minutes, how big that would have paid off for him. So Szalami with such good timing in taking down that second town center and riding that aggression to the end of the game.
This is like, if I could show this screenshot to a new player for Age of Empires to explain how much town centers matter, why having a second town center over just one is such a big deal, like, this is the screenshot right here.
Oh yeah,
it shows everything you need to know right there.
And because of that, getting that second TC, we take a look at the military count. Not as much throughout the entirety of the game. Pretty much not as much. BC had a little bit more before the Szalami was castle. But a lot of it was just those archers that once Szalami went up to Castle Age, those Feudal Age archers didn't really have much of a purpose. Did that just quickly enough. Let's get into caster mode. This is Game 5 on Hill and Dale. Everybody get hyped.
Get hyped indeed. Beastyqt in the yellow, going to be playing the Chinese, and Szalami transitioning over to the pink. I like it. Little splash of color. Going to be on the Mongols here on Hill and Dale. And I gotta say, straight out of the gate, Hill and Dale, we know this. It's a defensive map. What can the Mongols not do?
that would be walls, sir.
Yeah. So I don't know. I like the Chinese here on this map, especially with how powerful the Chinese are at the moment.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I'll be honest with you. I like Chinese on any map against any opponent right now because of how good they are. With the Mongols Feudal Age units that they have, the ones that are at their exposure, just pretty much, you know, the most that he has is he's got some Mangadai, which are unique, obviously, to the Mongols, but there's not a lot that he can do against things like Zugnu that Beastyqt can make in Zong Dynasty. So if he wants to go for some feudal aggression, which is not usually something people do on Hill and Dale, but if he did, it seems like Mongols are a good civ to do it against.
Yeah, I'm really surprised by this Mongol pick. I'm not exactly sure what the pick ban rules are for civilizations in this current tournament, so I don't know if there were other ones available that he could have picked and chose not to. But I think Mongols might have been one of my last picks for this current situation. They are going to struggle on Hill and Dale, I think.
Well, if I can get into the mind of a Szalami, as we were putting the barracks up here in Dark Age, so he's going for a tower rush against China, which is probably one of the best things that a Mongolian player can do against China, because if you let them just get to Feudal Age by themselves and whatever, then you're in for a tough time. So he's going to go for the tower rush. What I'm thinking for him is he knew that Beastie would play something like a China, like an HRE, like, you know, one of those civs that like to sit back and boom. So if he played Mongols, he would be able to tower rush essentially any of them. So I think that's that was his draft logic at this point.
That's got to be something like that, because I think you're right. I think there was some sort of like pocket play, some sort of strategy that was in the back of his head that he picked these Mongols for, because in a straight up macro game that goes to 30 minutes, I have no idea how the Mongols are supposed to win this one.
Oh yeah,
so
no, I completely agree.
Something that he picked that like you said, like a tower rush or a timing attack, something in his back pocket that he felt like the Mongols were really necessary for right here.
And looking at Beastie's base, as he did scout the villager coming forward, trying to get a tower rush going, there are a couple good tower spots for the Mongolian player. One being this left-handed side. He's got a little bit of a wood bushel here, I'd say, in his starting gold mine that's here also. Both of his wood lines are forward, which is going to be tough for Beastyqt as he goes into feudal age trying to combat that tower rush.
We are going to see Beasty move that villager into position. The tower gets placed. So I don't think that's where you wanted to place it, is it?
No, a little too close. It's a little too close. Villager took a hand cannon shot to the dome, and now at half health. But Beastie going up with the Imperial Academy in the back. This tower will go up, however. No military production buildings out of Beastie in Dark Age, of course, as China is going to wait to try to get that archery range in feudal to try to combat a second tower to come up. And we'll see how effective he is, because if the Mongols can really steamroll this tower rush going and China can't get going, it'll be an issue.
Yeah, I don't think this tower is going to make it all the way up, which then puts this in a really awkward spot of what did you spend all of this time for? I feel like a better position for this tower would have been on the gold on the left side. I think Szalami had vision of that, so I'm not sure why he felt like he needed to make this decision right now, because yeah, this is exactly what I would expect. Beastie just moves his villagers. He didn't even take them off this wood line. He just slid them to the left a little bit, or the right a little bit.
No, exactly. And now the villager has to walk all the way around to get another tower. And Beastie knew that because he put a perfect wall. Oh my god. Chef's kiss. The perfect wall on the south, making sure a tower can't come on the opposite side. So he has the right side of that wood line and will have the ability to get up to feudal age, get his archery range if he wants to with the wood that he has. Builds another wall to prevent the chop through. This is just, this is so good defensively for Beastie.
Dude,
I love
he can
this.
see the matrix right now. Like that is just top level play. Placing the wall in the first place, preventing the set chop through with the second wall, even walling along the side of the trees, necessitating probably 5 or 6 chops in a row in order to get through here. This is never going to pay off for Szalami. Beastyqt with an absolutely perfect defense against the Mongolian tower rush. He had to know this was coming as soon as he saw Mongols on his opponent, right? Like, he must have just been like, you know what? It's probably going to be a tower rush. And so he just scouted, made all the correct decisions. Like, it just, decision-making on point.
Oh, yeah. I mean, obviously it does help. I know I highlighted a couple minutes into the game that he saw the villager go across the map. Even if he didn't scout it, though, you're exactly right. Like, you know this is going to happen. If you're a Mongol player and you're playing against a reactive civ like China, you're towering, period. Even if it's not a good spawn for it, that's probably the only way you're really going to get a good advantage. But now the archery range going up because that wood line, rather undisturbed on that right side. Going to go ahead and get some archers, stop these spearmen from coming up. Yeah, send them all.
He has to. So he's going to burn this down. He's going to lose some villagers for it. But the Khan's going to go down probably. Oh, nope. He will turn around and pull the Khan out of there before anything goes too wrong. Yeah, this tower will drop. Villagers inside going to die. But Beastie did pay for that. That was costly.
Yeah, he lost a couple vills in the process. It was kind of all of his advantage of being China in general. Hasn't gotten Song Dynasty yet. More concerned with trying to stop that tower rush from happening. It looks like he did successfully. The villager's still alive at 5 health. But even though he had a lot of villager losses, it looks like 3, still has a 2 villager lead though.
Yeah, that's strange. Yeah, just being a little bit more efficient, having the macro on point because he didn't have to send a villager across to build the tower. Maybe all of that just kind of combining together to give him a little bit of a villager lead without Song Dynasty coming in here to make things even worse, as we know that can happen.
Yeah, I'm still waiting for that Barbican to happen. Beastyqt putting some spearmen on the battlefield, knowing that usually in feudal age Mongol will make a couple horsemen, does a good job against that, and will do a good job against the spearmen that Szalami has. But Szalami in the background, because you get a lot of map control, now this is a Mongolian strategy that I see a lot. because you got a lot of map control in terms of the tower rushing, you made them focus on their own base, that kind of stuff. Behind it, you're going to trade. And he has the silver tree down as his feudal age landmark.
I was actually just clicking over to look there. I was like, what did he go up with? I didn't actually look. I was just like, it's deer stones. It's always deer stones. That's all the Mongols ever do. And then I looked back at the base and I was like, hello, what are you? Look at that! I'm very excited to see this. I am a big fan of trade. I think it's really cool. And I think the silver tree is a super awesome landmark for the Mongols. I think it has the potential to change this game in a big way. And I think Beasty would probably think that he just went up with the deer stones, because why wouldn't he, right? Like, it's Mongols. They always go deer stones. So unless this gets scouted, there's no way Beasty just guesses that these guys are trading. But luckily, he will see it. He has moved some troops over. Is going to try and start to put the kibosh on this trade right here.
Yeah, he does see that one trader carrying a metric ton of gold, 182. Mongols with a little bit of units in the back trying to prevent any kind of traders from going down. One goes down, but he is able to get a couple deposits on that market all the way across the map at a nice 186 gold a pop. So that's going to help him out, get him some upgrades, get him some more units. And it looks like, as far as this Chinese army, not a lot going into production. Only 6 spearmen, 6 archers. Looks like Beasty's going for more of a macro approach as well.
Well, the Song Dynasty begins, as you can see from the banner there. He has made it up, and this villager lead will start to grow quite substantially in Beastyqt's favor. Now, these traders are economic units as well, though, so there is something to be said about having them. It will help him keep up with Beastyqt, but there is also the added factor that these traders are very vulnerable. Remember, Mongols can't wall, so you can't just wall these traders in and let them go safely. They're going to be vulnerable to raids for the rest of the game.
Yeah, and he is going to have to put down, as Szalami is doing pretty well, starting from the west side, just putting outposts, trying to get some arrow slits on those outposts as well, which is probably the best thing you can do when you're playing as the Mongols, trying to protect that trade, also giving them the Yam network, going 15% faster, trying to get some increased gold per minute as he continues to do that. But now Beasty's kind of turning up the heat a little bit. Song Dynasty came out. We're getting a little Zugnu action.
Oh, I do love the pew pew pew. They are here. They have arrived. And there's a decent chunk of them. 25 military population already. Not all of those are Zugnu, but a good chunk of them are going to immediately start heading down towards Szalami's base and putting pressure onto these traders. And, there's not a lot of counterplay for Szalami. As we mentioned previously, the Zugnu will pretty much tear through everything that the Mongols have right now. So I struggle to see that this trade is going to be able to continue for much longer.
Yeah, I agree entirely, especially because I'm hovering over the archery range and the Zugnu. Because the IO is supervising, he gets a Zugnu every 6 seconds. So that's why his military strength has increased to 33 in the matter of just a minute and a half. Szalami does not have the army to combat this. Just like you said, the Zugnu are going to be relatively untouched without a counter. Those traders going down so quickly.
And just like that, the trade for Szalami is brought to a screeching halt. Now, some horsemen are here. The spearmen aren't going to turn around and brace, so no stab damage there. But the horsemen, if they want a chance in this fight, the horsemen need to get onto the Zugnu immediately, and the spearmen are going to make that difficult. So there's this ever-present micro battle here between trying to get the horsemen onto the ranged units while keeping the spearmen at bay. And so far, things are going well for Beastyqt. He has now double the military population of the Mongols. He's got more reinforcements constantly streaming across the map. And it looks like all of these troops are going to be cleaned up for Szalami, except these horsemen. They'll manage to escape because they are a little bit more resistant to arrow fire.
And you see what, as far as just these little intricacies which make Beasty such a fantastic player, the way he used his spearmen, a lot of people that I see in lower elo games, the spearmen and the archers, they'll have on different control groups, and they'll be in different points of the battlefield. They're unable to protect each other. They're protecting the counters of the other units, so you gotta group them together. He did a really good job of using his spearmen to protect against horsemen for his Zugnu, and because of that, he has 18 Zugnu left, and he's charging up north looking for some villagers.
He's going to drop down a battering ram as well. Nice to see that the blacksmith was dropped. Perfect. That siege engineering came in already, just what you like to see. And yeah, he's going to start putting the screws to Szalami. Now, there is a little bit of wiggle room here for Szalami because as the Mongols, he can pick up his buildings and move them away. And so there's this awkward thing where the ram just kind of like stands there and then just moves a little closer and then moves a little closer and you never quite actually get the hit off. But yeah, as long as he wants to be building troops out of these buildings, they got to be stationary, which means they got to be attackable by this ram. So Szalami definitely in a tough spot here. 21 military population to 45. And the archery range packs up, just like we talked about, but that means you're not building anything from it.
Yep, archer range can't do anything if it idles. And the one thing, too, is its ranged armor goes away when it packs. So those Zugnu, with those repeater crossbows, can actually shred a packed building if given the opportunity.
I would have liked to see, like we talked about in the last game, these one ram pushes rarely achieve much. I would have liked to see Beasty throw down a second ram before he really tried to make this push work. I know there was a window where like Szalami didn't have very many troops. He wanted to take advantage of it as fast as he could, but this ram has spent a lot of time walking, and I just don't think he was able to pounce as effectively without a second ram here in the area.
Well, to be honest, with this ram, I don't think the goal is to win the game. He's just trying to bide time with this ram because he's going Castle Age behind it. The clock tower is almost finished. Oh,
you're right. I hadn't even seen that. Excellent eyes coming out here for my wonderful co-caster. And yeah, that's exactly his plan. So yeah, you're right. He didn't want to try and win. This was a delay tactic, trying to make sure that he could get up to Castle Age safely. Now that he has, you know, he should start getting a lot more upgrades, a lot of which will come in quickly. He's got Nest of Bees, which are amazing. Don't get me started on how much I love Nest of Bees. They're such a cool unit. I love how many rockets they fire and everything. Anyway, I could talk all day about that. But and he has the possibility to go up to the next dynasty, and then we're talking Fire Lancers, and those things smack.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they really do. And if he does plan on making those to go to the next dynasty, now I'm not really sure because Szalami is so far from Castle Age. His trade got absolutely dismantled. I only see one donkey running around. Well, it looks like a second donkey also, but all of his units are Castle Age. Beasties is, even though they're somewhat equal in terms of military count. I feel like if you're Beastyqt, just take it to him.
Yeah, I think there's a window where he wants to kind of get a couple siege weapons up and then push in. But yeah, I agree. I don't think there's anything stopping you here, especially when you wait a couple minutes and see that Szalami still isn't up to castle. You're like, if he hasn't clicked up yet, he will soon. And that's a perfect window for you to strike because that's 1,800 resources they just spent on stuff that isn't troops.
Right. Yep, you're exactly right. As soon as you hit the Castle Age and your opponent sees that, they're like, okay, I'm going to bash your face in now because you don't have upgrades. You haven't been making units. But I've been following, as you've been talking, I've been following this donkey trail for all of these traders. And they just, instead of going the vertical route, they went the horizontal up to the north trading post. And because of that, they just dropped off about 1,600 gold that was enough for him to get up to Castle Age, and Szalami going up with the Curl Tie right now.
Wait, what is this? What landmark is this? This isn't the step readout. The Mongols have a second landmark in Castle Age? What is it? What does it do?
I'll tell you what it does. Heals nearby units within its aura by +1 every 1 second, an additional +25% damage to all units when the Khan comes within range. That is the Curl Tie. Now, the best thing about it is, well, actually, I would say the worst thing about it is you got to move it to get some kind of effect. If you just have it sit in your base, it's not going to do anything. Beastyqt using some Castle Age units, has some Palace Guards trying to take down some wood villagers up north. They will go down, but a couple of vills go down in the process.
His main force moved to the west side and cleaned up all of this trade. That trade that you mentioned that had gone north, Beastyqt noticed it, has walled in both trade sites now, or is attempting to wall in the trade site in the south. The villagers there, but he hasn't done it yet. So the trade is about to get shut down, even more so than before, because these walls are going to force a response. You either lose the trade completely, or you send your army down there to deal with it.
Yeah, and I think Szalami's going for the latter. sending his army down to deal with this west side, bringing the Kurultai with him. Fantastic. It looks like all these Zugnu and the Spearmen are going to be wrapping around the south side of the Mongolian base. Has some towers here also that are going to help him out. And the town center. However, fighting with the Kurultai on your side is surprisingly good.
I want to see it. Pack it. Unpack it. Unpack the landmark. There we go. Well, the battle's kind of out of its range now. That's the downside of fighting with the Kurultai, is that the battle has to remain relatively close to it for it to do anything. But yeah, for the most part, it actually does look like Szalami is managing to hold a decent amount here. A lot of these palace guards are dropping, leaving just the Zugnu and the archers that are on the back. There's a decent chunk of those, but you know, these now veteran archers for the Mongols will actually trade decently well into this, especially with a +1 ranged armor.
Yeah, and just because of the only 3 or 4 men-at-arms that are up here for a front line, it looks like all of these archers and these Zugnu aren't really microed to the best ability. It looks like they're all just going for the men-at-arms, because he's trying to get some raids on the north side of Szalami's base, trying to take down some villagers near wood. But now once you get into Castle Age, Zugnu seem to fall by the wayside, just because even though they do shoot multiple crossbows, they're still just a normal archer. Whoa.
That was the strangest Wololo I have ever seen.
That was BM. I don't know if you're familiar with BM, but he just got 4 relics while all of this stuff was going on, and then decided to Wololo to show him.
He wanted Szalami to know, hey, I got 4 relics. Just so you know, I have 4 of the 5 relics. Just want you to know. And not only that, he also double walled in the north trading post, just to make sure, because the first wall wasn't enough, and the south wall, the south trading post is now completely walled as well. So this trade is useless. But upside for Szalami, after all of that negative things we just had to say, is that he has the military lead at the moment after Beastyqt lost so many troops at the bottom of that hill on the west side. So that means there's a small window here for Szalami to get in there and do some damage.
And that you're exactly right. That definitely helps, losing all of those archers and Zugnu. Obviously, the backline for Szalami is going to be a little bit better, but Beasty's going to have the idea, or the ability as China, to make a lot of army because you're able to supervise, and you have the economy behind it because he had a second TC behind while all of this was going on.
He's also been mining stone for quite some time, so he's instantly throwing up this keep next to the Barbican, keeping these villagers safe on the front line. Now, they're still somewhat vulnerable to archers shooting over the wall, but this keep is a great place for them to retreat to, and it's a sticking point that Szalami has to get past in order to do any real raiding here. He's going to need Trebs to get through this, and that forces Szalami kind of back to the drawing board. It's like, I know you wanted to raid, but you got to bring Trebs now.
And now I think, I hope he has advanced siege engineering out of a blacksmith to have the ability for him to do that, to make Trebs actually on the battlefield. However, I don't see any blacksmith. There we go. He's moving it south right to that South Uvu, so he'll get advanced siege engineering, I'm sure.
Okay, perfect. I was going to say, I don't know how do we tell if he has it or not? He does. He's clicking on it now. Yep, there it is. Improved siege engineering. Now being researched. So in the next couple minutes, they can be built directly on the front line, but that is going to force Szalami to look elsewhere for damage for the time being. Now, he might notice that there's 8 villagers harvesting a boar right here. He could get some nice vill kills while he's waiting if he sees them, and now he does.
Yeah, you're just waiting for the moment. Those archers are going to come in. Take some hits. There's too many archers here. I mean, as far as those villagers running away, I mean, you're going to get at least more than half.
This is a drop in the bucket, though. Beastyqt has 104 vills to Szalami's 65.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he can afford to lose those. He doesn't want to. He doesn't like it. But he's not that upset because he's still hugely in the lead.
Oh, yeah. By how quick? I mean, you make a villager every 13 seconds. You know, that's like, and for how many, having 2 town centers, that's probably a waste of, I don't know, 30 seconds of TC time. I don't think he really cares about that. It looks like he's trying to establish some kind of foothold on the south side of the Chinese hill. It looks like he's having some springles. The Kurultai is there as well. But back home at his base, he's getting raided by all of these palace guards.
The palace guards so fast. just as tanky as a man-at-arms, especially underneath these town centers where they have so much range resist, but they're faster. And that's the obnoxious part, because they can get in, kill a bunch of Vills, get out, and they'll be fine.
And you know what's crazy is because of the Chinese economy, if he lost all those palace guards, I don't know if he cares. Because he just ends up making more anyway.
Yeah, I mean, he's a little low on military population right now, right? Only 23 to Szalami's 75. But at any moment, Beastyqt can choose to produce military, and by supervising out these military production buildings using the IOs, he can get so much military so quickly. And he's got all the defense in place. Like, Szalami's going to burn through this wall here, and then have to get through the stone wall. And that's all time that Beastyqt's just harvesting resources away, just doing his thing.
Yeah, this just bides time. This is exactly what it does. And there's only 2 rams here. They do a little bit bonus to walls, as you see, a 450 attack by each wall, by each ram, so that wall's going to be halfway down. It begs the question, though, as Beastyqt does have some palace guards in his barracks. It looks like he's got a lot of monks in his monastery getting queued. There's about 8 getting queued. I'm not really sure what he's going to do about this Mongol death ball here on the east side.
No, if he wanted to create... You know, I was just talking about how quickly Beastyqt can get out troops, but that's kind of dependent on him building troops. I feel like he kind of wasn't. I'm not sure where his military population has been, but it feels like it's been roughly around the 29-minute mark for a little while now. I'm not sure where they were dying or if what happened to them, but yeah, he's doesn't have enough to deal with this right now.
Yeah, it seems as though you actually you made a good point, and that was a good prediction. I mean, he does have a lot of palace guards up here trying to raid, but the Mongols are knocking on your door with the Kurultai right next to the Imperial Academy. Beastyqt putting a keep near his granaries, trying to protect his farm economy. He's trying to make units as fast as he can. 5 nest of bees, though, are going to help him against that big ranged mass that the Mongolian army has now.
That is the big winner here. Now, the one thing we can say is that there are 5 Springolds out here right now for Szalami, though. And, you know, if those nested bees are not extremely careful with their positioning, he's going to find that he suddenly has 0 nested bees. And then this ranged massive army can just kill everything underneath the town center.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. What's nice about the Chinese siege is it's all clock tower. I clicked on all of them, so they're going to have a little bit of an excess amount of health, excess amount of efficacy towards those those Mongolian Springolds, excuse me. It's going to take a couple more shots to take down those nest of bees. But we'll see if we can get some hits in. It looks like we're going to have a little Springold war here. And those nest of bees getting good shots.
Healing everything up, though.
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to be enough, though. The nest of bees just do so much damage. Look at them. They just... Oh, look at all of those. Oh, no! All of those archers dying in the back. It just hurts to watch, but you can't look away like a train wreck. So many villagers going down here. There are a couple rams capping away at the town center, but it's got a long ways to go before it goes down the Kurultai. Desperately trying to heal up all of these veteran archers, but the nest of bees still live, and they do so much damage to range units, trying to micro out of the way of those rockets, but the defender's advantage is going to be too much here, and I think Beastyqt is definitely holding.
Yeah, just having those 1 or 2 nest of bees creates the complete swing. The siege advantage from the clock tower just makes it so those ranged units can't really do too much. And he had so many monks actually healing units, and it was kind of making his own pseudo Kurultai.
Yeah, that was an incredible hold. 3 military population remaining for Szalami. That was almost everything he had put into that attack. Beastyqt, with enough production, supervising out those military units like we were talking about, gives him enough of a defender's advantage with a constant stream of reinforcements to push that attack away. He lost some buildings, and that's annoying, but he's far from out of this game. In fact, he is more than double, the econ of Szalami at this moment, and Szalami knows it, gonna call the GG. He knows that Song Dynasty has been going for something like 20 minutes, and he's just outclassed in terms of eco.
Yeah, I mean, that's the power of China, right? I mean, they could do things like make military and have a military that's compatible with yours, but at the same time, they're always making units faster, or they're always making villagers faster and units faster, I guess I should say, where even they have a comparable military, but if we take a look at the villager count, look at this difference with the villager graph. One of them has 130 villagers, and you could take a guess who was. It's the China player.
Look at that! That's absurd. Just that climb. It looks like a mountain. Like, oh my goodness. That's the power of Song Dynasty, especially once you get a second town center doing it as well. And that's how you end up with double the amount of villagers as your opponent. And once that happens, it doesn't really matter how many units you lose. As long as you have enough production to replace them, you can afford to do it. And that's the China goal right there.
Even so, looking at this military graph, a 2-to-1, more than 2-to-1, I should say, advantage for Szalami, but all of those, just having those nest of bees, bring that stock down to a screeching halt and calls GG at the end. That was an epic 5-game series.
Yeah, I was about to say that in the middle. I was like so happy that we got to see such an incredible series for our finals here from these two players. They both put on an amazing show for us. They both deserve to be very proud of how hard they played. And we had a blast watching them. This has been such an epic tournament.
We want to thank our MetaPlays website subscribers. Your contribution helps us keep the project sustainable. As we reach higher subscription goals, you are helping us cover more and more behind-the-scenes costs, such as video editing. Check out our subscription page using the link in the description, and remember to collect your perks. We will see you the next time.